In the last episode, you saw us get the Rotary ATV, popping wheelies, ripping, and just generally dialed in. So now that it's dialed, we gotta make some more power, baby.
More power, baby!
Amen. What we have to do that is some parts from GoPowerSports as well as from Amazon. What we got here is some header pipe, carb jets, oil reservoir for our turbo oiling system, some flanges. We have a 34mm Mikuni, also from GoPowerSports. We have our fuel transfer pump that is going to serve as our oil pump, and our little baby VZ21 turbo. And we're going to have links for all this stuff in the description. Some of them are affiliate links for Amazon, and the other ones are GoPowerSports links. So if you order stuff, it helps us out. We very much appreciate it.
We got the rotary warming up in the background. So what we want to do is just a couple little bass lines so we can really see how much more power this turbo makes.
So basically our test is just seeing how fast we can get to in this little stretch here. Very scientific.
Here's our VZ21 turbo. So these things are pretty small, but they're good to up to 100 horsepower and 600, 700 cc's. So there should be no problem running our rotary that is 295 cc's. These are 150 bucks on Amazon, so they're really cheap and you can get them, you know, within a week. And we already did a little bit of work to this thing. So we clocked the turbo, which basically means just turning the turbine and the compressor wheels a little bit just to fit our needs better. Because of that, we had to get rid of our wastegate, but that should be okay since this is kind of a small turbo. We're hoping it'll just be fine, and we just don't over rev the rotary and we should be okay. We kind of ported the exhaust inlet since we're going from a 1.5 inch exhaust down to this 25mm opening. We wanted to kind of have a smoother transition. So what we did is took this 1 inch to 3/4 inch pipe coupling, then I lathed it out to 1.5 inches and 1 inch, and this will give us a pretty smooth transition down into our turbo, and we shouldn't lose too much power from that. Now we're going to weld the wastegate closed. We got our turbo mounted up. This is where it's going to live. We have it tilted a little bit back, and it's mounted pretty high up, so we're not hitting our feet. So now we just got to start getting all these pipes hooked up. Okay, there's that. So here's a little equipment update. Huge thanks to Hobart. We got the Multi-Handler 200. This thing can do MIG, run an aluminum spool gun, stick, and TIG weld, so it's everything we'll ever need. And it's just a bit of an upgrade over our smaller Hobart Handler 140. That thing's worked great. It still works awesome. We've had it for over 5 years, but it's time for just a little upgrade. This thing's really tunable, doing the exhaust, it's really nice. And we'll have a separate video on it on the channel. Okay, we got our charge pipe, and the moment of truth, will it fit? Oh, nice. Okay, so some of y'all may be wondering why we're using 1 inch pipe right here, or tube. That's just because the turbo outlet is just very small. And we also, our bender does not do 1.5 inch tube, which is why all of our exhaust is kind of stitched together and all weird looking. But, I mean, that looks good. I'm really happy with how that looks. That looks great. The oil inlet on the turbo is not pipe thread, it's M8 by 1.25. So we ended up using our mini lathe, drilled the hole down the center, and now we can put a inlet on there and weld that up. Now that everything's welded up, we cleaned out the intake exhaust on the rotary, completely took apart the turbo and rebuilt that. So everything's nice and clean, and we're just gonna assemble it and see how this thing rips. Right off of the exhaust outlet. Here's the oil setup for our turbo. We have this oil transfer pump that you can get these pretty cheap on Amazon. We'll have a link for what we use. These are kind of for changing the oil in your car. So we have our high pressure line going up to the inlet on our turbo. Then we have the drain from the turbo going down back into our reservoir. We then have this little kind of breather cap and fill cap. So right now we'll just fill this up with oil, cycle the pump, get some oil in these bearings, because they're actually bushings, not bearings, so we want to make sure they have oil before we start spinning up this turbo. Okay, time to prime the pump a little bit, see if this pump even works. Okay, lots of air bubbles in there, but should be fine. Oh no! Oh, just got oil all over me, man. Well, here goes round two. We put a much thicker hose on here. We're using what they gave us in the box, so I don't know why it exploded like that, but you should have a wider angle in case it happens again. And fingers crossed. Oh man. Okay, much better. We ran out of our reservoir oil.
We got our Mikuni 34mm carburetor ready to go on as the final touch. Unfortunately, it's not for aircraft use, so we cannot use this when we rotary swap a Boeing 747, but for the Rotary ATV, it'll work perfect. So slide that on, and let's see how this thing does now that it's all buttoned up.
So it's ready, I guess. We have a pretty rich jet in there, the richest one we have, and then we're just gonna sort of go down from there, hopefully. So I guess we're just gonna prime it and see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully it just starts up as is.
Hold your hand over it. What?
All right.
Dude, does it start better than with
hold on.
no turbo? No way. Here we go. Kind of. Oh wait. So basically, if we leave the oil pump running, the pressure just kind of blows through the seals. But if everything's turning and running, then we're good. So, dude, no way. No way that first I randomly just picked a main jet and just threw it in there. And it's running pretty good. It gives smoke when you give it some throttle and stuff. Like, don't think there's too much reason to be worried about it. It's not as snappy. So I'm not sure if the wheelies are gonna be gone. But I guess there's one thing to do, and that's test drive it. it definitely has more power. I mean, I don't know if y'all could tell, but it definitely has more power. If you kind of ease into the throttle, you can feel it build boost and just keep going. One issue is it's definitely less drivable. We still need to try and tune, you know, the idle air, pilot jet, all that stuff, needle jet. But yeah, more power, and dude, it starts without starter fluid, which we never were able to get it to start without starter fluid on the old one. So this is pretty awesome. I'm really happy with it. Definitely have more tuning to do, but this is a great start.
So I don't know about y'all, and I don't know how it picks up on camera, but I think that looked a lot faster. Let's see the times. What do you think you hit? Last time it was 40.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have, the runway is kind of small, but I think 55. First one was 41.
Okay.
So that's better.
That's an improvement.
Oh, this one was 45, 46.
Okay, that's pretty good for that short distance.
47.
Oh, getting close to 50.
Okay. So this is the last run. Okay, yeah. That felt like my fastest run. So we topped out at 47, but that is in the same, you know, distance.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, honestly.
I mean, 7 miles an hour faster in the same runway. Also, it's running like you can't floor it. It gets too rich when you floor it, so you kind of have to modulate the throttle a little bit. So if we get that main jet dialed back a tiny bit, we'd probably be a little faster since I don't have to keep like adjusting the throttle.
Yeah, we need to throw a boost gauge on it, see how much boost we're making.
Oh, dude, we have a boost port, but we don't.
What the heck? What's that?
Don't say
Heck. Sorry.
So we have the boost port ready, and we have the like flange coming out, but there's nothing there, so we're just leaking boost out of that area. So we have a giant boost hole. So we'll fix that and see what's up.
Well, did a couple of runs with the boost gauge, and this thing is way out of whack. The needle's just bouncing around in there. But then it kind of like, as you go faster, kind of levels out, and it goes from -20 and stays pinned at 0. So I don't know if that means 20 pounds or 0 pounds or what, but we're definitely
I would say
boost.
inconclusive results from the boost gauge.
Jury's still out. I think we need to get it.
There is some sort of boost.
Yeah, there's something going on.
So
I think we need to get another boost gauge though.
It's still wheelies, guys. That's pretty awesome. So previously we had trouble keeping the wheelies up because it would just grab and flip it up really fast. But the turbo is a little bit more progressive. So as y'all saw in that last wheelie, it was better than the other ones I've been doing. So that's awesome. I was kind of afraid we'd lose that with the turbo. The next thing is we're waiting on carb jets to be shipped in. We think it might be running a little lean because when you go full throttle, it cuts out. And we just don't want to push the engine too hard if we're going to be running it a little bit lean. Other than that, you know, this is a pretty good success. We have a little bit of wiring to do, maybe trying to get the battery to charge from our coil, but I'm really happy with this thing. It definitely makes more power, still does wheelies, looks cooler. It's just all around great. So that's the end of this video. Thank you, GoPowerSports. All of the drivetrain components and the Mikuni carb that we used on this, which is really tunable, are from GoPowerSports. And thank y'all for subscribing and watching, and we'll see you in the next video.